Hi everybody, it's time for a new video, and this one is all about the garden. I've given this thing a major overhaul. I actually just finished up work right now, so I've been going at it all day and I'm really happy with the results. It's going to save me loads of work in the future because of what I've done now. And even though it was a hard slog, I feel very rewarded by the work. It's always really nice to be out on the land, doing physical work, getting the blood flowing, and I feel really happy. I also harvested a few things and did a little bit of work in the polytunnel, and in this video I have some unfortunate news to share. It's nothing serious, but it's just going to cause me a bit of a pain in the neck later on, so it's a problem I have to resolve, and it's probably going to cost me a bit of money as well, so I'll share that with you later in the video. But I've got loads of stuff to share in this video, so let's start in the garden and get into some work. Good morning. It's about 10:30, so it's kind of a late start, and that's because it's been cold in the morning and I am very wimpy with the cold, so I never actually crawled out of bed until about 9:30, and it felt good. It felt good to be cozy in there and just to have a little bit of a sleep in after some pretty busy days. And today is the day I'm going to tackle the garden. And as you can see, the garden is a disaster, and that's an understatement. There's a lot going on in here. Some of it's good. The winter garden is looking okay. I forget what those are. I think they might be onions or garlic. And it looks like the border of ash that many people suggested I use has been effective in deterring the slugs, so that's positive. We've got loads of grass growing around here that I'm going to trim. My goji berries have been overwhelmed with clover, and the parsley is actually doing pretty well, despite also being overwhelmed with the clover forest. This was once upon a time broccoli, as was this. Oh, look. We've got a little broccoli head in here, so I might harvest these kind of straggly looking broccolis and take those plants out and close off the garden. Over here we have, I don't know, grass and clover, and we've got a beet. This was left over from the summer. Yeah, she's looking okay, or is it? Yeah, maybe I'll cook that up later on, see how it tastes. You can go there for now. I have a random sunflower stalk. I think this is asparagus, so I'll try to liberate this. And some kale that's looking a little weird. So caterpillars have been having a fun time in here. I've got a chili plant, and over here I have some very sad looking horseradish. So this has been annihilated by, I think, caterpillars. So I'm gonna dig that up later and see if there's anything lurking under the ground. I've never harvested horseradish in my life. I don't even know what I'm looking for, and I don't even know what to do with it. I totally forgot I had it, and it just sort of sprung back to life, and then it's been munched. And then behind me I have my tomato bed that I'll just completely pull everything out except for the cherry tree. And yeah, everything will then be covered with this wonderful mulch. And this is all the wonderful stuff we got from the wood chipper. So as you can see, there's a lot of leaves and a lot of twigs. So the chipper maybe isn't shredding things up as small as we would like, but the sticks are actually getting chopped up. So that's the main thing, just getting rid of the sticks without having to burn them. And I've been told by a friend that this mulch on top of the garden beds will do a really good job at suppressing the weeds until the next year when I do the garden in the summer. Hi, Larry. What's up, buddy? How's it going? You having an exciting morning? What are you doing up here? He's having some adventures this morning. He's a lot more energetic than me, that's for sure. But I feel like once I get the shovel out and get going on these garden beds, I'll feel energized, and it'll be nice to see a massive difference in the garden. What do you think? Huh? What do you think? I think he agrees. What's that, Larry? Are you afraid of the camera? What's happening here? Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of stuff to get done. I'm just gonna dive right into the work. It's gonna be a big day, but it's gonna be hopefully one of those days where by the end of it, I see a massive difference. And this craziness that is the garden will hopefully look a whole bunch better once I finish this day of work. Hi, little guy. How's it going? What are you up to? It's nice to see the cats. They seem to spend most of their time these days snuggled up on the bed, so it's nice to see them out enjoying the sunshine. Say hi. Say hi to your adoring fans, Mikey. He's not into it. I also wanted to pause and say hello because I have a squash and I was really hoping it would turn into a butternut squash like last time. I had about 10 of them and they were delicious. But this one seems to be turning into a miscellaneous squash. It wants to be a butternut, but I see these kind of faint green stripes on it, so I don't know what that is. It might just be one of these horrible watery tasting ones. Who knows? And it doesn't look like I've got a lot of other squashes on the go. There's a few baby ones that sort of have rotted. And yeah, so my surprise squash plant had a good yield the first time around, but this time, the second harvest, we have this thing. So I'll cut this open later and see what I'm dealing with. But right now, back to the garden. So I've just been down to my compost bin collecting a wheelbarrow full of this beautiful stuff. I have 3 bays down there. One of them was filled with weeds and the squash plant, so I ripped that all out, tidied it up, and brought it up here, and it's really, really nice stuff. The middle bay is the compost that I'm piling stuff on now, and I don't really remember what the 3rd bay on the right is. It could be the one that's next in line for use, so it's all composted down. So I'll have to investigate that one. But right now, I'm going to dump the wheelbarrow onto this bed, and then I'm gonna mix it all in with what's there, and then I'm gonna cover it with the mulch. Okay, that'll do. The whole point of this is just to suppress the weeds over the winter, so I want to put it on in a nice thick mulch, but this is all that I have, so I want to be able to spread it over the other beds as well. So hopefully this is enough. And a friend of mine who knows a thing or two about gardens has said that this will eventually rot down and go into the soil and make it even nicer. So by the time spring rolls around and it's time to plant again, hopefully I don't have weeds to pull out of the beds, and hopefully the soil is nice and lush as well. And you might have noticed that I don't actually have anything over the garden paths still. I was never able to get wood chips. The woodyard guy, Cesar, as I said in many videos, he's a busy guy and he doesn't always have them. So I'm still kind of rocking the sawdust, but it's blown away in certain parts. Doesn't look amazing, but it has helped a lot with the weeds. So it's kind of a partial win, at least there. So I'm just gonna continue on doing some more beds, and I'll check in again when I'm further along. But so far so good, and it's nice to get the blood flowing and be out working on the land again. So here's where I'm at after a few hours of work. The mulch pile is significantly depleted. I need to get more of that stuff because I feel like it's going to be really good. And this bed was already done. But over here we have this bed also done. So it's been a bit of work, but I think it looks absolutely fabulous. And I'm really happy with this day of work, but unfortunately I have to stop. And that's because my car is at the mechanic's and a friend has kindly offered to take me into town to collect it. So the car is in there for an oil change, and that's one of the reasons I haven't been able to work on putting the concrete slabs down in the greenhouse, because I need a car to go get the concrete slabs. So I'm hoping to pick some of those up today, and then I'll get to work on that very soon as well. And then I've got obviously a lot of work still to do in the garden, but I'm really, really happy with the progress so far. So I'm gonna give this little guy a cuddle. He's come to say hello. He's been hanging around the garden all day. How's it going, little guy? And I'm gonna get cleaned up and head into town to collect the car. But let's just take one last look at the garden, because I really am extremely happy with how this mulch looks. And I think it's gonna compost down really nicely onto the soil as well. One thing I'm not so sure about is this weird looking cherry tree. I don't know if it's supposed to have one branch sticking right up, or if you're supposed to prune it shorter. Who knows? I'll research that fairly soon. But yeah, the garden's looking good, and I'll be back at it tomorrow for some more work, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I've been working in the garden all morning. I started with weeding the beds. I've moved a whole bunch of compost, and I've covered everything with the mulch, and I think it looks really great, but I still have a little bit of work to do before I do a great reveal. I'm going to harvest the horseradish that's behind me, but first I'm gonna go trim some grape branches which have been sneaking their way into the grass, which means I can't really trim over there. So I'll prune those down, get the strimmer out, harvest the horseradish, share my annoying news that could cost me a lot of money and a lot of time, but we'll see. Hopefully it's not as bad as I think. And then I'll do the great reveal of the garden. So I've got these grapevines just snaking along through the grass all over the place, and it makes it impossible to trim, and I'd really love to just get in here and cut the grass. So That means I'm gonna, oops, turn on the tool of joy. There we go. That's better. And snip the grapevines. It's quite easy to become entangled with these things. They're very unruly and they're super woody, so they don't really break down in the compost very well. So rather than sticking them in there, I'm gonna chop them into little pieces and then probably dump them around a tree, which is really quite satisfying. This is just so satisfying. Job done. Okay, that'll do. The grass is very thick and very juicy, but really quite satisfying to trim. So I did what I wanted. Now let's go check out this horseradish. So I don't know a thing about horseradish. I know you can make horseradish sauce. That's about all I know. And I don't know what it's gonna look like under the ground. What I do know is that the caterpillars have had a field day with this stuff, and if I don't harvest it now, it's probably gonna just turn into nothing, because these little guys are really enjoying the snack. So I guess my best / only plan is to get a pitchfork in here, loosen the soil up, and see if there's anything to be salvaged. Oop. It doesn't help that there's loads of rocks surrounding this area. It's kind of just become a dumping ground for old concrete and things, so maybe there's no hope. But I don't know unless I try. And maybe there's no hope, because I can't really get the pitchfork in there, because everything's covered up. Maybe all is lost. Or maybe I'll try this one over here. Perhaps I've gone about this in a little bit too much of an aggressive way. I don't even know what this is. An old bag of cement. Man, it's full of surprises in here. Alright. Come on. Come on. It smells horseradishy, but it's all messed up. So it looks like I have a few clumps in here. Here's another bit. Wow, this stuff's really weird. Oh wow, it smells, yeah, really strong. It's pretty wedged in there, but it looks like I do have stuff. I don't think this is the right tool for the job. I think it's a job for the tiny shovel. She's deep. Come on, guys. All right. So there we go. Horseradish. It's weird looking. It smells very spicy. It smells like wasabi. And I guess I'll harvest the rest, whatever else I can find in here. So if anyone out there knows what to do with horseradish, has any recommendations, can link to a recipe, I guess horseradish sauce is a logical thing to make. Yeah, let me know, because it looks like I have a pretty decent haul of this stuff. And there's a little bit more in here as well. But I'll get the rest of that out later. Right now, I'm going to share with you my unfortunate news. I've been leaving you hanging long enough. Fortunately, it's resolvable. It's not too bad. Hopefully there's a solution, but it's to do with my car. And the problem is this. When I try to start her, she doesn't want to do anything. The battery's fine, the lights are on. I've tried a bazillion times, said a little prayer here and there to the car gods, but alas, she seems to be uncooperative. So that's really disappointing because I wanted the mechanic to specifically look at this problem. The car's done this in the past and it ended up being the starter motor, and I did get it changed out about a year ago, so you think that thing would last longer than that, but it has not. If that is the problem, but it's doing the exact same thing as before. So I wanted him to look at it, but I guess he never really did. And now I have a dead car in a spot that's really hard for a tow truck to get to. So I don't know what my solution is. I don't think a tow truck is gonna get there. So either I have to find a troop of friends to help me push this car out to somewhere reasonable, coordinate that with a tow truck, or I have some friends with a tractor that live up the hill. The same friends that helped me get the van out, the camper van out when my friends got stuck a while ago. And I'm wondering if they could come down with the tractor and help me get to a more reasonable spot, maybe tow me up to the main road. So that's something I'm gonna have to deal with and figure out, and I kinda don't wanna think about it right now. What I wanna think about is the garden. It's time for the great reveal. Okay, where to start? Here's the view from the entrance. It's all looking a lot less weedy, a lot less green, and a bit more beige. But that's okay because I feel like the mulch looks really cool. Everything looks a lot tidier except for that horseradish region over there, which I'll get to soon. But yeah, so I had enough mulch in the end to do everything I wanted to do. I've got this little bed prepared, these two over here, and I also got mulch on half of this bed. It's a little too chaotic over here with the spinach. It was pretty hard to actually get in here to weed, but I did my best. Maybe I should start eating more spinach and that would solve that problem. I got mulch over on this bed, and you can see the glorious parsley somehow surviving. I've really done nothing with this parsley except for ignore it. So it's great to see that thriving. It's all still nice and soft and not woody and super tasty. I trimmed as much as I could up here on this terrace, and I even got some trimming up on the top terrace as well. And yeah, I weeded a little bit of the garden beds there. There haven't been so many weeds in these beds, which has kind of been surprising. but they are looking okay. Some of the lettuce is looking fine. Some of it is looking a little not happy. So I'm gonna actually get some ashes around the edge of this bed as well, because I feel like that one's doing pretty good and there's no sign of snails or slugs. Well, what else? I haven't really done anything with this grapefruit tree, but she's looking mighty happy. And that comfrey is looking mighty sad. What's even happening here? I do not know. I want to move these raspberry plants over there, but that's a two-person job, so I'll do that when Sinead's around. And I've put down some tarps to keep the weeds away. But I'm gonna leave a little bit of it open because I don't actually mind pulling a few weeds here and there. It's when you come to the garden and it's just entirely covered in weeds on the paths and in the beds and everywhere that it becomes very overwhelming. So having a little bit of stuff growing, it gives the spring beasties, the bees and everything, something to kind of hang out in, and it's not so much work for me to pull it up. So this is the garden. And I'm very pleased with it. It was about a day and a half of pretty hard slog. It was a lot of work putting the compost down. Underneath all of these mulch piles is at least a couple wheelbarrows of compost that I then had to mix in. And the mulch was obviously very light to move around, but the compost in the wheelbarrow was a little bit heavier duty. And yeah, things just take time. But I think little by little, step by step, I'll get to a point with the garden where I have the paths covered so there won't be weeds in the future. And I have hopefully chippings in the future, so the beds I can close off every winter. And I think it's just sort of designing all these processes that eventually save me time later on. And it was a bit of work now, but not that much. And I feel like it's gonna really save me a huge amount of work when April rolls around and I'm ready to plant. So before I end the video, I thought I would come over here and put these 5 stones in place just to know how many I'm actually gonna need. And this little guy is very much enjoying the hot sand. How are you liking that? I don't think he'll like the paving stones quite as much. What do you think? What do you think of this giant kitty litter, buddy? So unfortunately, the stones are a little more expensive than I was expecting. They're €2 each, which doesn't sound like much, but my suspicion is that I'm gonna need 5 across and probably 10 going that way. So I might end up just doing the back part to set this on and then running some along this way that I put the chili plants on just to start, and then I can add to it later on. So I'm gonna get the level out and see if I can get these guys in and knock another small job off the list. So perhaps you've noticed there's been a rather large change in the light out here, and that's because I have had to wait for my camera to charge. One of the unfortunate things about just having one camera battery charger, but in that time I've managed to harvest the rest of the horseradish. I've managed to put ashes around the bed in the garden to protect from slugs, and I've also cut open the weird squash to see what it looked like inside and chopped up the broccoli in preparation for something yummy tonight. But I'm pretty determined to get these stones in place tonight, and though it's cold, it's not so bad inside the polytunnel. It's nice and cozy in here. So I've got the level, the stones are still at the door. Let's get them in the sand. And let's try to do it before my camera battery decides to die again. I'm not looking for anything super precise here. I just want to get these stones laid out so I can see if they'll fit 5 across. And I'd love to get them in level-ish. The name of the game right now is speed, so that's what I'm mostly worried about. But I'm going to try to make a flattish, level-ish surface. And however it looks is how it's going to look. Good enough. Well, that's annoying. So it looks like if I want full coverage of the tiles, I'll have to grind this off. I think that's way too much of a pain in the ass. Definitely for today, possibly forever. Maybe I'll just get the stones kind of around this side and leave this more open for storage stuff that doesn't require any watering. My biggest concern is the sand getting all gunky and mixed up with soil. So if I just, put the stones down where I'm gonna have the pots, I'll be happy for now. It'll be cheaper and I won't have to do a whole bunch of grinding. So for the moment, I'm just gonna get this shelf back in place and then return to this another day to tidy the tunnel up. Once I have more stones, I'll get more down and get everything organized at a different time. That'll do. I'll get this down here. Over to here. And as you can see, I've lost all interest in leveling anything. Just get that guy down, and you go. So that'll have to do for now. I can see that my vision is gonna work. The tunnel is chaos, but I'm gonna tidy it another day because it's been a really long one, and I really am quite tired. So that's all from this video. Everybody out there, please cross your fingers and toes that my car is gonna be okay. I hope it doesn't cost me too much, and I hope it's not too much of a hassle to get the thing actually out of my driveway, which could be fairly interesting. So the garden blitz has been a success. It's a gorgeous night, and that's all from me. So thanks for watching as always. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.